Alright, so we got that done. Now, we need to move on to the frame. So, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to select, grab a white color here, not quite white, a little darker than plain white. I'm going to grab my rectangle brush, and you'll notice here that the brush actually snaps to the guides that I've placed here. Actually, quite right in the center of the brush, and so you might be able to see where I'm going with this. I'm going to size my brush some sort of nice round number. I'm gonna click on one end. I'm gonna do the edges of the window frame first. I'm gonna click on one end, hold down Shift, click again. I'm gonna do the bottom here. Then I have to rotate my brush 90 degrees. Get this thing selected. There we go. Type in 90, hit enter. Click on one end, hold down Shift. Click again. Do that for the other side as well. And then, since the way these guides are positioned, it cuts off half of the brush, and so I'm going to need here. It's going to use the entire brush in the image, so I'm going to have to scale this down by half. So I'm going to set the scale now to 90. I'm going to do these vertical frames here. And whoops, didn't get that quite on there. Okay. I'm going to do this horizontal. I need to do this horizontal frame too, so I can change the angle back to 0 and do the horizontal one. Okay, so our frame is in. Now we need to start adding some, you can look here, you can see there's a lot of shading going on the frame here. So that's what I need to do next. Best way to do that, I'm going to create a new layer. And you'll notice I'm always creating a new layer for every different part of the texture I'm making here, and that'll make it easier to blend them, edit them without, having to mess with other parts of the texture that you didn't mean to change. So I'm just going to select, I'm going to zoom way in here, make sure I have the frame selected. Don't worry about that little faded edge, you can't notice it from right out here, and so I just go ahead and select along with everything else. And so now I have this one frame, part of the frame selected. I'm going to go to my fade tool. I'm going to make sure I have the color black selected. You might go with a different color, but generally black is the best way to do shading. And so I'm going to click on the edge of the frame and then hold down Control. Actually, I'm going to click, hold, then press down Control, pull out, and that just makes it so the line snaps. Holding down the Control key does. I'm going to bring it down out all the way to the middle, maybe halfway to the middle. I'm going to do that for both sides, and I usually like to be even on either side of the frame. Okay, that's close enough. And then I'm going to do some vertical ones here. Whoops. Okay, I'm just gonna again zoom way in here, and that way you can allow it to snap pixel by pixel. Head up top, grab that, and then just take the fade tool or the blend tool. I don't know, I can't remember what it's called. But anyhow, I might make those shades just a little bigger. Alright, and I'm going to go down here, grab the bottom part of this frame, zoom way in. Okay, I'm going to redo that edge. That's good enough. Then I'm just going to take, looks like I'm going to need two more of these layers, and then you just take the move tool, hold down shift, and that way I can move the layer I have selected at the time right over here. Move it over to this one, zoom way in, position it, grab the next layer, move it over, just like so. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I duplicated these layers by just going Control Shift D, and that by default in GIMP duplicates a layer. So I'm going to need two more of those. And hold down Shift, click and drag. And that puts that in, and I need one more here. Move this one down. Okay. Okay, so looks like I need to duplicate this layer a couple more times for the edge of the window here. And just move it over. And select this layer. Move it over. Right, zoom way in to put that in, position that perfectly. Alright, so there's a shading for our frames. I'm actually going to merge down all the shading now into one layer. Let's do that real quick. This way it can be good to name things, so that way you can remember that the shading starts on, this layer number 4 instead of layer number 3. And so you could name it shade 1, and then you could do next layer shade 2, and so on. So you just kind of work out your system on your own there. And so looking on this texture, you can also see there's kind of a, you might call it like a reflection of the frame into the window there. So I'm going to add that real quick, and might be able to tell that that's just a simple also this one time, and then I'll kind of fast forward to the video and get on to the next step. So I'm just going to create a new layer. And in fact, it'd probably be best I put this layer beneath the first layer of the window frame. And I'm just going to, whoops, don't want that. Sometimes it's, you gotta figure out why. I'm gonna reselect this area here. Alright. Now I'm gonna take the fade tool. There we go. Wasn't working quite the way I wanted. So I'm just gonna go, and you can kind of pick how far, what looks best to you. You may not want to add this, you may want to, it's all up to you. I think it looks pretty good. Sometimes it takes a couple times to get it just right. I'm just going to settle with that. And I'm just going to show you, you can, now that you have all your layers here, you can just change the opacity until it is where you kind of like it. Make the window frame reflection fairly subtle. Then I'm going to take the shading, and you want that to be fairly crisp, but you probably don't want to be just straight black. So I'm just going to fade it out just a little bit here. And that looks pretty good. And then you just I'm just gonna go ahead here, stop the video, and then do this for the rest of those frames, and see you back in a second. So I went ahead and finished all the window frame reflections here. I'm pretty sure. Let me check all these. Yeah, looks like I got them all. And so there's only about one other thing I can think of at the moment that would wrap this tutorial up. I'm just going to select the white window frame, and kind of depending on your texture where it's going to be mapped onto your geometry, you might want to shade the window frame some. And again, I'm just going to take the blend tool here, and sometimes I just do this in general because it just gives my models in Flight Sim a lot more depth and stuff like that. I'm just going to add a little bit of, you know what, I should probably do it on a new layer. That's something. So I'm just going to add some shading to the window frame here. In fact, I'm going to move this shading just above the base color of my window frame here, and then fade it. And that can help add some depth and whatnot. I'm going to select all of it, and maybe I'll just hide the guides here. And so there you go. I'm going to go back here and see if there's anything I might else want to show you. And you know, so the reflection texture, the image we snipped in Google Earth, it's really more just something that kind of just gives it a little, little shape in the window, and so you know you're looking at reflections. You know you can't exactly, but you shouldn't be able to make out exactly what the reflections are, except in particular cases. But I'm actually liking that base window image quite a bit there. It's actually looking pretty good to me. You know, you can go back and through and have your window color selected here, and you know, play with the brightness. You know, lighten it up, bring it down a little bit. But you know, whatever you want to do there. I kind of like it darker there. You know, this is where it's kind of fun just to kind of go around and play with it. You might notice that these windows are not quite the same width apart. The frames aren't, I should say. When you're making your texture, you can take more time and getting those guides placed a little more accurately. But anyhow, that's how I kind of go about making window textures for my models that export to Flight Simulator. Hope to continue making tutorials of how to make textures, and also applying these textures to models in SketchUp, as well as making models in SketchUp. And so hope this is a help, and catch you later.